And yeah, so today we're just gonna do a quick critique feedback, and after that we're gonna continue our polish stuff. Cool, nice. And just give me 1 second here so I can share this on Instagram, maybe. Going live. Second. Story. Add story. Going live. Just post this guy here and we get started. Nice. Done. And let's do flow. Nice. Okay, my phone is ringing. Okay. Let me just turn this off. Cool. Awesome. So let's get started. Okay. Okay, so I got this one from a friend through Instagram. He's a student at Adam School and he wanted some feedback on this shot here. And we're gonna do a feedback on this really cool shot. And yeah, so let's get started. So first of all,
this is my story. These are my thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? You wrote that the lead murders someone. So you would never do that because he's me. This is my story. These are my thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? You wrote that the lead murders someone. So you would never do that because he's me.
Cool. This is awesome. Really cool animation. Some really cool stuff there. And let me just do this really quick. This is a bit distracting. So yeah. Cool. Yeah, really cool animation there. Some really awesome stuff. You can see some textures there. Appealing posing in the face, which is cool. And this just stays. What the heck is going on? Okay, no it doesn't. Oh, okay, nice. My screen is small.
This is my...
Now it's... What the heck is going on here? So let me just try to delete. And there's some weird stuff here. Yeah, anything I draw just sticks. So let me just try another browser. which one should I use? What's the other one? Edge. Okay. And let me just copy this link here. I'm going here. New. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, that helps. I think this is something that Microsoft does on purpose. They just want you to get onto their browser, so yeah, I don't know. Okay, delete. Yeah, delete. Nice. Let me get this guy there. Cool. Yeah, really cool stuff. Some great lip sync shapes there. Really awesome. Yeah. So, looking at this, it looks like you're already like in the final stage, because I have some feedback for this shot, and most of the feedback that I have is more about the acting choices and less about polish, because I think the animation is great. Everybody that looks at this animation, they know that you can animate real well. But the problem that we have is the acting feels a little bit generic. Reason why, so yeah, I'm just gonna point these acting stuff and acting choices stuff, and this is something that you can keep in mind for future. But in terms of animation wise, I noticed a couple of small stuff that you can still work on to just plus it a little bit more. Okay, and one last like staging thing that I noticed as well. Okay, cool. So looking at this, acting wise, this is the problem. Is like if you look at the subtext and what he is acting, you're the all of the body acting that you're doing is you're doing exactly what the character is saying. So let's go here. So this is me. Okay. So when he says this is, let's see,
My story.
this is when he says this is my story, you do this. So you're kind of taking the text and you're just replicating the text, and you're doing this. Okay, so let's keep going again.
My story. These are my thoughts.
My thoughts.
I mean, what are you thinking, huh?
So here you go like, what are you thinking? So I'm just gonna do an angry pose. What is an angry pose? This is an angry pose. So you do the angry pose. It's a little bit generic as well. So he said, huh? You go like for huh? There. And there's a second part there, which is like, I can talk about a little bit more to like just make it less too much and just like more, because like this is not a really long shot. Actually, it's not that long. So you don't want to like move between poses, too many poses. Okay? Cool.
Are you trying to piss me?
So frustration, you do the frustration pose.
Wrote at the lead.
So when he's talking about the thing, he does, this is the thing.
Murder someone. So you never do that because he's
Again, when he says me, you just do that. I would say like for this one, it's good. This one, it's not that bad, but when he points to himself and he says me and me, and he does it multiple times, just becomes a little bit generic. And usually when you have like subtext, you want to try to understand it more, not necessarily just do exactly what the subtext says unless it feels natural. Okay, I know it's a bit tricky. So an advice that I would give you, Asim. Okay, let me double check if it is Asim here. Just 1 second, so I don't butcher the name. Go here and here. Yeah, it's Asim. Asim Tariq. I don't know which one is their first name. Cool. Nice.
These are my thoughts.
So first of all, Asim, what I would an advice I would give you is try to study acting more and try to understand what is good acting and what is bad acting, because currently we know. Yeah, Asim. Oh, cool. Hey, welcome. Yeah, feel free if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if I'm saying something wrong or if I don't understand something, feel free to explain. So again, if you just joined us now, what I've been talking about here is like acting feels like you're just like he's saying exact like he's just like following the text. Whenever he says me, you point it like me, and when he gets angry, you do the angry pose, and when he gets like thinking, you do the thinking pose, and just like that feels a little bit generic. But animation wise, the animation is really good. Now I think you're at a stage where we can all agree, oh, Asim is really good animator. He can animate. And now it's more about, is he a good actor? And currently we see that there is a lack in in acting. And so what I would recommend for you is to try to study acting a little bit more. Whether it is that try to look for courses on YouTube or something like that, read books. And yeah, I remember like a while back I tried to study a bit of acting. So one of like you can even try to study like the history of acting and how it began and the different schools like method acting and in the one that was really my favorite was the Meisner technique, which is the Meisner class. There's a master class that you can try to find, and he talks more in depth about like acting and what makes the performance more truthful. Because if your acting is generic, when people look at your shot, they don't feel that connected with the character, and they just like they know they're looking at an animation. And when you want people to look at your animation, you don't want them to look at animation. You want them to get absorbed into the acting and feel that it is truthful. Okay, so that's something that I would advise there.
This is my story. These are my thoughts.
So this is just something that you can keep in mind in future when you work on future shots. But if you want to like plus this more, the problem is like this is polished stage, but so take these notes with a grain of salt. You don't have to do them, but I
My
feel
thoughts. I mean, what are you? My thoughts.
I like what you're doing there. This is really good.
I mean, what are you thinking, huh?
Like this going back feels a little bit too much. Like for me, it feels like he wants to get like want to get closer. Like instead of like like because here it feels like you're trying to animate him instead of make him act, like doing the anticipation, squash and stretch, and you're doing this beautiful pose with this beautiful expression. And when it comes to acting, it's not about that. It's about like the intention. Okay, so for this one, I would like you get into this pose. I would stay within this pose because you come back to it again. Okay, so that it could be like within this pose. Yeah, another thing, this one, you go again a little bit too big.
Trying to piss me off?
Which is like you look for your accent and you just piss me off. I would go for something that is not as extreme as this. So I would stay within the thing. For me, I would like for him. It sounds like he should be like getting closer and closer to the camera. Yeah, stuff that you're doing there is great.
Murder someone. He would never do that because he's me.
Again, this like I like what you're doing there, and this it looks like this you just took this pose and copied it and put it here, and you just made it a little bit different. So what I would do there, I wouldn't go to this pose here. This you can keep it, that's fine. And then for here, you can try to maybe get him like a little bit closer and use something less than like it's me. Okay, let's try to be a bit more creative. So again, You don't have to do that, okay? Cool. And in terms of, yeah, I really like what you're doing with the camera and stuff like that. You're tracking it. It looks like it's part of a movie. And the only thing is, like, the first time I saw this, like the first frame when I saw this here, it looks like this area is too empty compared to this. So maybe we need to make him more centered. Or either one of the two, either more centered or a little bit closer to here, because we're opening to this side. Otherwise, this feels a little bit claustrophobic. And if this is what you're after, that's totally fine. You can keep it because it adds to the tension.
I mean, what you think?
And just watch out here when like this goes off the camera, because you're in a medium shot, and it's not. This is not always true, but during medium shots, we want to like just keep the character. But if you're in a like a close-up, in close-ups you tend to cut some of the head. That's totally fine.
You trying to piss me off? What are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? You wrote that the lead murders someone. So you would never do that because he's me.
Yeah, and also try to animate the legs. I know that you're not animating the legs because you don't have to really animate the legs. The problem with not animating the legs is you're doing really good of like just animating the COG, which is like we can see that all of like the arcs and the follow through and the ups and downs is really well, but there are some places where the weight shifts don't feel like are missing. So maybe like just put in like a bit of like the foot, so you don't have to worry about knee pops. It's just like where the foot are supposed to be, so the physicality of it makes more sense. Otherwise, I think this is like, yeah, this is very picky thing.
Are you
If it wasn't that well, I wouldn't say it's should I go back to blocking, change my action choices? I wouldn't do that. It's the reason why I'd rather for you to do another shot than this, because just keep this. The good thing about this shot is like it shows that your animation is really good, but the action choices, if you want to change it, I would rather for you to go to another shot. Another reason why is because I would avoid choosing audios that have like shouting in them, like where the character is like because this is overused. I know that a lot of students and a lot of animators usually like to have that like tension and like in their shots, but what happens is we tend to miss the important part, which is like having emotional change and realizations. Like if you can find an audio where the character just realizes something, like they're talking and there is pauses, because the best way to show a character is like when you have pauses. Okay, so I'm like I'm talking, then I like, and I did this. You see, like when I have this like internal thinking, you can it feels a lot stronger. And also make sure like whenever you look at your audio, the audio is not like, if you make this 0 and this is 100, the audio is not always at 100. Like we want to have moments where the audio or the character or the energy goes down, stays down, goes up, goes down, and then goes up. Okay? Because currently here,
this is my story.
it feels like it's always up.
My thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, huh? Are you?
But like in general, like I think this is working really great. I'm just like, if you wanna like go the extra mile and make sure you do your best, the next thing that I would suggest for you is try to focus on acting a little bit more, and try to study acting, not acting for animation, but acting in general. What makes acting like really good?
Are you trying to piss me off?
No.
Piss me off? You wrote wrote that the
Yeah, and also try, like, whenever you use some of these characters from Anime School, try to make them a little bit more customized. Just change the color of the shirt or something like this, and maybe give him a mustache or like. Let's see here. Ah. Just make him a little bit different. The reason why I'm saying this is because when I clicked on your shot, it feels like, oh, I've seen this hundreds of times. And just having something that looks a little bit different is kind of like the Malcolm rig. He has been overused a lot, and what happens is like people start to get into this problem whenever recruiters say Malcolm like shot, sometimes they skip it because like I've seen that like millions of times, and it feels like they're just seeing the same animation over and over. So just like changing it, making it a little bit more customized will get us away from that issue. So just simply changing the colors and stuff like that. That's definitely gonna help.
Someone. So you would never do that because he's me.
Cool. So that's like all the stuff that I've been talking about there. You don't have to do them. It's just something that you can keep in mind for future shots. Okay. Otherwise, this is a really good shot, and it's good to feel like if we were like looking for like junior role or like you want to start or something. But if you want to go on like bigger studios, and you should have stronger acting choices. Cool. And like in terms of animation, I just have like few notes. So let's take a look.
This is my story. These are my thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? You wrote that the lead murders someone. So you would never do that because he's me. The lead murders someone. So you would never do that. Because
I also love your lip sync, and the way you're doing the lip sync feels very organic. I hate his hands. It looks like very sausagey. So yeah, but you're doing a really good job there. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can get this to be more straight, because you see how you get this shape there. You get that there. Just try to sculpt it a little bit more so you get more straight shapes. Cool. So where's the things that I noticed? Okay.
My thoughts. What are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off?
So, quick question here. Are you using IK for the hands? Yes, I can see it. See, whenever someone tells you you're using IK for the hands, yeah, it makes sense because you could get here. You know, like there are some places I know, like IK. You're actually doing a really good job of it, and I'll probably like I have similar issues as well. Just whenever you use IK, be careful with the elbow. Whenever you like, sometimes you will get the elbow just like doing this while you move the IK. So here, let me show you some examples here.
What are you thinking?
You see here where the hand is stuck and this is moving? Yeah, that's frame 120, around there. So it's easy, you can just like make sure that. So here is the thing, whenever I animate like hands in IK, there is something that I need to keep in mind all of the time, because this when I'm animating this, I don't think of it as I'm animating the hands. I think of it as if I'm animating two controllers. So I try to think of this as an FCAM, okay? And yeah, working on the last project, I noticed one thing that helps, because it's very difficult to get the elbow to look stable. And there's a trick that I started using, and it just made my animation look a lot better in terms of like IK hands. but it's actually another thing that you need to be careful with. So sometimes what I use, like if I can't get the elbows to look, arcs to look nice and smooth and make it look like FK, last thing that you can try to do is like just use the elbow pin and put it there and animate the elbow pin. Then the next challenge will be make sure that your arm is not overextending too much. Okay, it shouldn't look like it's getting bigger, longer or shorter. Okay, so maybe you can use that. But I highly recommend to just leave that as a last resource. So here you can see that then. And just like try to do a spacing pass, because I noticed there are some pops like from here to here. It's a big pop. And try to track the arcs, okay? So yeah, just simplify the arcs a little bit more. Yeah, you see how like you have this there? It's a really nice arc, but what I would do, because if the spacing gets too big, it just becomes a little bit stroby. For me, if it's feeling a little bit too stroby, what I usually do is I would reduce this distance here. So instead of doing that, I would just make it something like this, just a little bit less. I'm just gonna keep the same motion, but it's a bit less. And the only like main thing that I'm noticing is that that's this big pop there, and also we need to get that arc going from here to there.
This is my story.
And arcs are like a big thing when it comes to IK. And off.
My story.
Here. Yeah, watch out here. There's an invisible wall around here. Just get stuck there. Here again, we're getting the IK syndrome.
I mean, what mean?
So yeah, what I would say like to you, Asim, is like just try to put like a locator here and track your elbows. Okay, you know, like when you track the arcs of the hands and they're following these neat, nice, beautiful arcs. The elbows should follow these nice arcs as well. Okay, I know it's very difficult, it's not easy, but you need to follow nice arcs as well there. In here, what I would say, if I really like what you're doing there, is like it's a complicated choice, not like a complicated thing to animate. So what I would do is like just make sure that it is kind of like pinned, because it looks like it's sliding a little bit. It doesn't look that sliding that much because he's moving at the same time, but if you can maybe constrain this part there. See how like it just slides there? It's this. And this goes up. So I'm not totally sure what he's trying to do. He's like trying to rub his head while he's moving, and that becomes a bit too complicated. So maybe just add pressure, so like squash there without it just sliding too much. So I'll probably use some constraint tricks there and just add some secondary action there.
What are you thinking, huh?
Yeah, and watch out here, whenever you move your the limbs, make sure they're not moving at the same time. Like at the same time. See how they're both moving down at the same time. Moving up at the same time. And you see how like you just go from here to here? So there's just like one frame pop there. So there you need to ease out of the pose a little bit more. So you need at least 2 frames of ease. So it doesn't feel, because like when I looked at your animation, I was like, it feels like there are some parts where it just like pops a little bit too much. So it kind of feels like, oh, does he have stepped keys? I thought you had stepped keys. And then I realized, oh, that's just the spacing. So just like be careful, just make sure you add a little bit more eases during the spacing. So again, both hands are stopping at the same time. Same issue here, there, at the same time. So just like delay one hand, so like this one moves first, just 2 frames, 1, 2. Say like, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if this pose is working well. It feels like you're just like, you chose the biggest pose you could get because you got like off like this O shape, like high note, like, and you want to do not off. It's like feels very theatrical. And I feel like it's more in the face, so if you can make the face bigger, that's a lot stronger. So yeah, and one last thing that I would like recommend for you, so spacing, we need to do a pass on that and make sure that we have like ease ins and ease outs. And another thing that I'm noticing is like arcs can use a little bit more work. You see how like we had a wall around here? So it just goes there and then does this. And it will be like stronger if we get something a little bit more of an arc there. What can I put in its place? Okay.
What's my thoughts? I mean, what are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off?
So maybe we can keep the same idea here and we can just like get him like closer to the camera, maybe. And also, yeah. Okay, and let's take this there and this. Like your, I really love your mod shapes, really good. Like my drawing is not that good, but you get the idea. Is like, yeah, we're just trying to get him a little bit closer, maybe, so it's not that big. So it's kind of like we're toning it down a little bit there, or something like that. So we will get this nice arc on the head. Piss me off, like piss me off, instead of piss me off. Because like he's like super mad at that person. He's like, you're pissing me off. Like, I feel like your character should start further and just get closer and closer and closer and closer until it gets closer to like, yeah. Well, don't get him too close. I really like this pose. In terms of appeal, I feel like you're breaking this spine a little bit too much. You're getting into like kind of like Hotel T style, and I'm not sure if you're going after that because your animation is a little bit more on the between, like, not realistic. I wouldn't say realistic, but it's not totally cartoony. Okay, so just be careful with this. It just gets a little bit like he has a hump like this, so I'll just tone it down. Yeah, so it just like feels a little bit more relaxed. And I'm not sure here what you are you trying to make him look here? Because like this here, this one is looking there. This one is right. But this one is kind of like looking here. So what I would do is like, I know like this is very tricky. Okay. See how like this feels like it's more like he's looking at the paper? So I would do that there. See? This one like just feels a little bit off.
Murder someone.
Yeah, and also like the main thing that like I'm a big fan of like pushed poses. If you like this pose, you can keep it. But if you want to make it better, it's like looks like we're getting like a lot of shapes here. And these shapes. And these shapes are like too complicated and they're not working well. So if you can simplify this to be more like this, something like that, that would work a lot better. But I know like you might need to do some sculpting there to get it to look good. Yeah, dude, I just love what you're doing like with this stuff. Like you're just like isolated, like you're putting like you're working within the pose and you're doing it really good. So this just tells me that your animation, like the quality is really good. It's just about your acting choices. And yeah, this is again a common theme that you have, which is like both arms are moving at the same time. See how like they both starts at the same time. Spacing, we need to do that, work on that. And arcs here. So if you track the arc, it just looks like he's doing this. Like it's a little bit janky. And again, both hands are stopping at the same time. So I would probably delay this one a little bit more. But to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan. Again, I love like the pose is really good. It's really appealing. But the choice, this choice at the end, the me one feels like it's just a copy of this one here. And I would rather that he would get closer to the camera.
This is
cool.
My story. These are my thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? You wrote that the lead. Are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? Huh? Are you trying to...
Yeah, this... Are you trying to piss me off? Feels a little bit too much. Maybe we can tone it down.
Are you trying to piss me off? I mean, what are you thinking? Thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, huh? What are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? You thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off? You wrote that the lead murders someone. You would never do.
Yeah, the head shake there is lovely. I just love it.
You would never do it. Never do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of texture there, which is really good.
You would never do that. Because he's
Yeah, again, track your arcs. You see how like just the head just goes up there, just does this.
This is my story.
So that, in terms of like overlaps and stuff like that, you're doing it really well.
My story.
Yeah. So looking at your facial expressions are really good. Maybe just be careful. The eyebrows get a little bit too close there. So maybe add a little bit more. You see like this. Compare this to this. It makes him look like he has a unibrow. Unibrow. Something like that. Awesome. Just really awesome work there. Just love it. Yeah, you have really good understanding of how like to like do like the bees and the squash and stretch and the explosives. And the only thing I'm gonna say, this is probably, it feels like it's late one frame, and I would say this is 90% scene sketch. It's not you. So yeah, so don't worry about it. But there was some, I think just two parts where they were missing. Okay. I love how you're doing the S. Yeah, one thing I like to do, like whenever I animate the upper lips, the lip is like, what I notice is like when we like move our mouth, what happens is whenever the jaw opens, there's some effect on the upper lip, and usually we want to avoid just keeping this part just like stiff when the jaw opens. Just add a little bit of like the upper lip following it a tiny bit. That should make it more, even more organic. Like what you're doing there when he says the S. Love the nose stuff, nose flare there. Yeah. The th sound. You see how like this shape is very close to this shape? So what I would say is like I would just make this even, squash it more. So we add more contrast. And just like look at like the some of what is it? Boss Baby, maybe mouth shapes. They have really good ones, and just look for the th sound and see how they do it. It's really, they have it really appealing. So here, what I'm like trying to look for is like some like squash and stretch. Just maybe push this even more. Thaw. And for this, I like to do some of the thing, which is what you're doing there. The, like you see how like when he said the S, like the lips kind of like flare, you can add some of that there as well.
What are you thinking?
And during the th, I would say just try to squash the mouth corners a little bit more, so you get more contrast. So we go from the, so you see the, thinking. You see like what you're doing now is like doing this, thinking, and we're just missing the transition between the the, thinking. And I actually, again, I really love how you're simplifying. You're not animating syllables, you're animating sound, and you're simplifying a lot of like busy stuff, and you're doing a really good job of it. What can I put in its place? Which one you're talking about? Oh, sorry, like, yeah, there's a bit of delay there on the chat. Oh yeah, you were talking about the pose. Sorry, I thought he was talking about the lip sync there.
Are you trying?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, maybe just a little bit more on the P shape. Here, maybe we can get to the F shape. This might be scene sketch. Just double check and make sure that when you hear the F, you should put the F, the sound, okay? Yeah, and also try to track the arcs of the mouth corner. Make sure that they're following nice arcs, and just try to make sure that this doesn't feel connected to the jaw whenever the jaw opens. So it just moves one-on-one, just because when you add a bit of delay, it adds more organic feel to it.
Murder someone. So you would never do that. Because
yeah, I love like the stuff you're doing there. Really good. Awesome. Yeah, and in terms of like, yeah, and yeah, for the hand, like this one, just like this hand pose feels a little bit not that appealing. So I would just like try to take this last index because it looks a little bit kind of like broken. So I would just maybe separate it just to get some of this nice shape there. And maybe just rotate it so it doesn't feel like it's kind of like rotating the other way.
You would never do that because he's me. He didn't do that because he's me. This is my story. These are my thoughts. I mean, what are you thinking, huh? Are you trying to piss me off?
Cool, awesome. Asim, does that make sense? Any questions? All good? Yeah, I think those are all the notes. Yeah, you asked for it. You asked for it, and just like I went like all in. Hopefully, I didn't destroy your shot. Sorry about that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I would say like for all of like the acting notes, the only thing is be careful with the acting for the next your future shots, and just like try to like not have him like all the way like energy always up, and just try to have some moments like this part here when he just like he moves like that's from frame 82 to yeah here to 100. Like these 20 frames are like it feels like okay, this feels like okay, this feels more less like just pose to pose. Okay, just maybe use some more of that.
You murder someone.
And this last pose out like just maybe just to do something less closer to there here, and it's more in the face and less in the body acting there. Cool. Awesome. Great work, man. And looking forward to is this finished or like you're still working on polish?